Thank you again, everyone, for coming. My name is Ann Mullen. I'm the Communications Director with the ACLU of Michigan. My pronouns are she, her. I just want to take care of some technical stuff first. If you haven't already, please put yourself on mute. We are recording this Zoom press conference and we'll share it in the press release, which will go out very soon after the press conference concludes. Again, we thank you so much for coming. Today, you'll hear from ACLU of Michigan Senior Staff Attorney Miriam Ackerman and Lupita Contreras, who is the wife of the lead petitioner, Jose Daniel Cervantes Contreras. And you'll hear from their two young sons. And then I'm going to open it up for questions. But right now, I'm going to turn it over to Miriam. Go ahead, Miriam. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Miriam Ackerman, and I'm a senior staff attorney with the ACLU of Michigan. In this country, due process is fundamental. We don't just lock people up and throw away the key. Rather, judges decide who should be behind bars. That is true for citizens and non-citizens. For decades, as required by both the Constitution and immigration law, people living in our communities who allegedly entered the country without proper documents got bond hearings if ICE detained them. Bond hearings are critical. Immigration cases can take months or even years. Hearings allow immigration judges to set a bond so that people can return to their families and take care of their children at the same time that they are working on their immigration cases. But on July 8th, in defiance of the Constitution, in defiance of immigration law, and in defiance of decades of agency practice, ICE adopted a new directive to categorically deny bond hearings to anyone who allegedly entered the country without documents. That directive is blatantly illegal, and it will result in the needless detention of hundreds, thousands, perhaps even millions of people. This week, we filed a lawsuit for 8 people who have been illegally detained by ICE without the opportunity for a bond hearing under this new directive. Our clients have lived in this country for years. Some have been here for decades. Some arrived when they were babies. The United States is the only home they have ever known. Many of our clients have families here, including U.S. citizen spouses and U.S. citizen children. Yet ICE says that it can lock them up and throw away the key. No matter how long they have lived here, no matter if they have families and children who need them, no matter if they have led law-abiding lives, no matter if they are deeply integrated into their communities. You'll hear in a moment from the family of Jose Daniel Contreras Cervantes, one of the petitioners in our case. Let me just tell you a little bit about him. Jose came to the United States when he was 14 years old, and he has lived here for almost 2 decades since. He and his wife, Lupita, have 3 beautiful children. His wife and children are all U.S. citizens. This family has had plenty of heartbreak already. Jose was diagnosed in 2024 with a rare, life-threatening form of leukemia. On August 5th, a new nightmare started for this family. Macomb County Police pulled Jose over for driving a few miles over the speed limit. The officer then called immigration. Jose was transferred from one immigration facility to the next, and for weeks was not given the critical medication that he needs for his leukemia. He is now at the North Lake Processing Center in Baldwin, where he is being held without the opportunity for a bond hearing. The reason Jose is behind bars, the reason he cannot come home to his family and get the life-saving care he needs from his specialist medical team, is a new ICE policy and the fact that immigration courts are now saying they can't hear cases like Jose's. The Trump administration has upended a bond system that has been in place for decades. It has suddenly claimed that people like Jose aren't eligible to seek bond. Instead, says this administration, Jose and thousands of people like him will be locked up for months or years if they try to stay with their families in America. This new directive is specifically designed to force people to give up their claims for immigration relief and leave their families behind. The administration's goal is to break people's spirits, to lock them up and make them so desperate that they agree to leave their loved ones. This policy is family separation with a different name. The cruelty of the new ICE directive is not an accident. Cruelty is the point. But this administration has underestimated the power of family and underestimated how hard a dad with cancer is going to fight to come home to his kids. And this administration has also underestimated our Constitution, which guarantees due process and guarantees due process for everyone. That's why we're back in court. I want to take a moment to explain how this case fits into the larger context. This new directive is one of the most dangerous and far-reaching abuses of power that we've seen in this administration's mass deportation campaign. If unchecked, it will affect thousands, possibly millions of people. It will result in family separation on an unprecedented scale. At the end of August, we won a very similar case for Juan Lopez Campos, a Detroit resident who had lived in the United States for more than a quarter century and is the father of 5 U.S. citizen children. As a result of that case, he is now home with his family again. Across the country, court after court has said what the administration is doing is illegal. This new directive is illegal. There are dozens of cases with new decisions coming out almost every day saying the government cannot do this. But ICE isn't stopping. It's just continuing to illegally lock people up without bond hearings. It's continuing to separate families. So we went right back to court and sued again. We sued to bring Jose home, and we sued for 7 others who, like him, are being separated from their families and communities for no reason at all. One of them has been released since this lawsuit was filed. The story you will hear in a moment from Jose's family is searing. This family's pain is unbearable, but it is also now commonplace. This administration is tearing families apart and locking people up for no reason every single day. And we aren't going to let that happen. Not to this family and not to the hundreds and hundreds of other families who face separation under this new directive. Let me close with a message to those other families. This new directive is illegal and unconstitutional. If you are a family member, if your family member would have been eligible for bond before ICE adopted this new illegal directive, your family member should still get a bond hearing. So if someone you love is locked up by ICE, even though they've been here for years, even though they have deep ties to the community, you need to talk to an immigration lawyer, or you can contact the ACLU. We may not be able to respond to every request immediately, but we are going to do everything we can to connect you to the resources that will get your loved one home. And if you're a lawyer and you've been wondering what you can do in this moment to make a difference, we need your help to bring families back together. So join us. And with that, I'll pass it to Lupita to tell you about what has happened to her family. Thank you.
Thanks, Miriam. As Miriam said, my name is Lupita Contreras. My husband is Jose Daniel Contreras Cervantes, who is from Mexico and came to the United States when he was just 14. Jose and I met in 2013 when my best friend introduced us at a family gathering, and it was love at first sight. We have been inseparable since then. We married 2 years later. We celebrated our 10th year anniversary this past July. We now have 3 beautiful children, Aiden, who is 9, Emilio, who is 8, and our daughter, Camila, who is 1. She is home right now with one of our neighbors, who, like others in our lovely community, where we have lived for 10 years, have been very supportive. I want to thank our neighbors for helping us since my husband was taken from me and my kids on August 5th, nearly 2 months ago. But before I talk about the day my husband was arrested and put into detention, I want to share a little bit about what our life was like before that horrific day. Jose and I have raised our children in the same home for 10 years. We both worked. He worked the day shift and I worked overnights, so that one of us was always home with our kids to take care of them. Two of my children have serious health issues that need constant care. My son Emilio has brain tumors and he suffers from headaches, vision problems, and other symptoms. He is currently receiving medical treatment. Our daughter Camila also has low red blood cell count and suffers from a rare type of anemia. She is also receiving medical treatment. We, like any other family, we're taking care of our kids, working, paying our bills, going to church, spending time with our family and friends, and going about our lives. And then, about a year ago, my husband was diagnosed with a rare form of leukemia, and the doctor said he had 4 to 6 years to live. Jose has been receiving critical medical treatments, including daily medications to prevent infections and other complications due to his illness. We know that our time together was limited because of his prognosis. So we have spent our time as a family relishing each day. But on August 5th, we didn't know that some of our precious time together would be abruptly and cruelly stolen. When driving near Macomb County, Jose was pulled over by a deputy in the Macomb County Sheriff's Department, allegedly for driving 10 miles over the speed limit. He was able to call me, and the deputy sheriff who had pulled him over asked me to come pick him up. But when I arrived with my children, she coldly said, I changed my mind and called immigration. My sons witnessed their father being taken away by immigration officers. We weren't even allowed to say goodbye. I did let the sheriff know about Jose's leukemia and that he was receiving treatment. She didn't seem to care at all. Initially, Jose was in detention center for about a week and then to Mahoning County Jail in Ohio. Then on September 2nd, he was transferred to North Lake Processing Center in Baldwin, where he remains today. For 22 days, Jose did not receive his medication, which he is to take daily for his leukemia. Lapses in his medication and medical treatment can cause severe symptoms, including damage to his vision, infections, and the loss of his life. Our life has changed completely since Jose was taken. Now, without him, it's almost impossible for me to work because I must care for our children. I ask you from the bottom of my heart to keep us in your prayers. What I hope is that he will be released from custody so that we can continue fighting his immigration case as a united family. I will not give up. He is my husband, my life partner, the father of our children, and we want him back home. But my husband is not the only reason why I am speaking out here today. What's happening to him is happening to countless other families and other people across the state and nation. Kids need their dads and moms. Families belong together, no matter their legal status. I am a U.S. citizen, and that is why I decided to speak out. I'm speaking out not just for my family, but for countless others who can't because they rightly fear they will be targeted if they tell their stories. Our families must be reunited. It's terribly cruel to not just the people being detained, but their families as well. It must stop. Thank you.
Thank you, Lupita. Now we're going to have her sons speak. If you want to bring them on camera, they're just going to make a very brief statement. And when we get to the questions period, we're not going to have questions directed to Aiden, who is on camera now, and Emilio. All the questions will be directed to Miriam and Lupita. Aiden, do you want to speak, honey?
Sure.
Go ahead.
Hi, I am Aiden. As my mom said, I am 9 and I am a U.S. citizen. As of right now, I am really hopeless. without my father.
Thank you, Aiden. Amelia, your turn.
As my mom said,
Speak up.
I am 8 years old. I am a U.S. citizen. I I miss my dad very much.
Thank you, Aiden, and thank you, Emilio. I'm really sorry. Thank you for speaking, honey. I'm gonna open it up for questions now. If reporters could raise their hand or come off mute, that'd be great.
This
Autumn?
this is Autumn with News Channel 3. I just had a question about his citizenship. I know that he has lived in the US for about 2 decades. So was he not a US citizen? He never had citizenship?
That's correct. I mean, it's extremely difficult for people to get citizenship, and so he does not have citizenship.
Okay, and then I was just trying to listen to where um he is right now. Did you guys say Baldwin? Was that right? Is that where he is?
Yes, he's at the North Lake Processing Center in Baldwin.
Okay, thank you.
Miriam, Ed White from the Associated Press. Can I zero in on his health care? I believe his wife mentioned that he went 22 days without medication. Can you please address um, uh, what's happening now as we speak? Has he been getting this medication? Is he able to talk with doctors? Is there any healthcare staff that see him there? Can you provide some specifics on his current status?
Lupita can maybe provide more information, but what I can tell you is our understanding is that he is getting some limited care now at North Lake. He is not getting the type of medication that his doctors recommend. He's getting a substitute medication. So that medication is causing vomiting before it kicks in. He's not being treated by the specialist care team he needs. He is getting some medical treatment, but he's not getting the medical care that he needs for his condition. He's not getting the specific medications that his doctors require, have recommended for him. That's my understanding.
Yeah, Lupita, if you could address that, that would be great.
Yes, so that is correct. He did go 22 days without his medication. When he was transferred over to North Lake Processing Center, he did start receiving his medication. But these past 5 days, he did not receive it. We did not have an answer on why until this morning was when he received his medication again.
And have his doctors here in southeastern Michigan, uh, have they had any role in trying to talk to that detention center? Is there any communication, I guess, between the center and his doctors?
Unfortunately, no. He's just being taken care of by the medical staff that they have on site. The only communication they have with his oncologist and the other specialist is just to get refill on medications or to ask if he can take, certain medications with the chemotherapy pill that he takes.
Miriam, if I could quickly add this, immigration courts and process is very complicated. Can you explain, I guess under the best scenario, if he was granted a bond hearing, what would be the best outcome for him? Can you talk a little bit about the process?
Sure. So in the case of our other client, the other lawsuit we filed, what happened there is that the judge ordered, said this holding him without a bond hearing is illegal and unconstitutional. In that case, the court ordered release or a bond hearing, and ICE quickly released our other client in that case, Mr. Lopez Campos. So we certainly hope that if we get a speedy court ruling here, ICE will do the right thing and simply release Jose and our other clients so that they can go home. If there is a bond hearing, what will happen is that an immigration judge will look at the factors in the individual case and make a decision about whether the person should be in custody or should go home. In a case like this, it's hard to imagine a judge would think that someone like Jose should remain locked up for months or years. The reason that you have this bond process is to make sure that if there are particular circumstances where it wouldn't be safe for someone to be in the community, that those can be addressed. But, our clients, people should be home in their communities unless there's a special reason why they should be locked up. Immigration detention is civil detention. It is not criminal detention. And the only justification for it is if there's some reason for someone to be behind bars that, protect the community, something like that. That is not at all the case here.
I have a question for Lupita. Have you been able to speak with your husband? How often have you been able to talk with him? And what has he been saying about his experience in the detention center and the conditions there?
Yes, I have been able to speak with him. I've gone to visit twice. It's not easy to go visit because it's 3 hours away from home. So that's another expense that I must make to be able to talk to him. But I mean, he doesn't say it's pretty in there, but he doesn't also say that it's the worst. But if it was up to him, he would love to be home because in his condition, because of him being sick, there's times where he can't even get up and he doesn't have the care that he needs in that facility. But I'm able to have, communication with him.
Any other questions?
This is Autumn again with News Channel 3. Lupita, I just had a quick question for you. Where do you reside?
And Lupita, it's fine if you don't want to say. One of the things I really want to keep reporters from doing is showing up at their home. So I'd rather she not share that information. What we did share is, and it is in the press release, is that he was pulled over near their home in Macomb County.
Okay, thank you.
Obviously, his health is a big concern. Are there any aggravating factors in terms of his background here in the U.S.? Any type of record that might be a challenge in bond court or as this case goes forward?
No, there are some, traffic infractions, driving 10 miles over the speed limit, that kind of, there's some traffic issues, which is a function of people not being able to drive without, not being able to get licenses, even though that they've been here for years. But there is no criminal history other than the traffic issues.
Hi, it's Russ from WDET. Have you gotten a reason from the Macomb County Sheriff's Department why they would call immigration in this particular instance?
We have not, and we are deeply, deeply concerned about that. I mean, this is a situation where there's absolutely, what we're seeing around the state is this local entanglement with immigration enforcement so that people like Jose are ending up in immigration detention completely needlessly. There is no reason why local law enforcement should have called immigration here. It was just feeding Jose into the maw of the deportation machine. We are appalled that happened.
And we suggest you contact the sheriff's office, find out.
We recently sent a letter to local law enforcement explaining that the tremendous risks that they take when they take actions like this, detaining people longer than they're authorized to, feeding them into the maw of the deportation machine. And we certainly hope that other counties take notice and do not engage in this kind of enforcement. It puts them at great legal risk.
For Miriam and or Lapita, um, where was he born, and is there a risk of deportation in this case?
Lupita, do you want to talk about that?
So he was born in Mexico. And I am unaware of the deportation question. I wouldn't know how to answer that. Sorry.
I'll just say he has very strong claims for immigration relief. He's working with an immigration attorney to pursue immigration relief. I think, what is really, I think, important to understand is that people with really strong claims for immigration relief who have lived here for decades, who are, deeply integrated into their communities, who have U.S. citizen children, U.S. citizen family. Those are the people who are being picked up and in an effort to deport anyone willy-nilly, regardless of their circumstances, regardless of their deep integration into the fabric of our communities, regardless of the fact that this is their home. That's what we're seeing in Jose's case. That's what we're seeing it in across the country. Our other clients, if you look at their stories, they're very similar people. Some of them came to the United States when they were babies, and they have lived here ever since. And yet, those are the people that this administration is targeting for deportation. The administration is now locking up and throwing away the key and saying you can't even go home to your family while you're fighting to stay with that family in the United States.
And Miriam, a follow-up, you're also filing this on behalf of 7 other people. If you were to be granted bond hearings for these 8 total individuals, can that be applied for moving forward for other bond hearings for other people who are detained, or is it just for this group of 8 people in this instance, and you will continue to file?
That is a great question. This is a bit of a perfect storm. The Supreme Court has recently issued some decisions that make it extremely difficult to file class actions for immigrants in detention. The result of that is that people generally need to file individually. There is a national class action challenging this no bond hearing policy, but this gets a little technical, but it is for declaratory relief. It's to say that the policy is illegal. What we're seeing is that essentially the administration is counting on the fact that people cannot get lawyers. They're saying, yes, there have been, I think it's, well over 40 courts at this point that have said this new policy, this new directive is illegal. But people have to go one by one into court because even though the courts are they're ruling again and again and again against the administration, what's happening is ICE is just continuing to arrest people and continuing to deny them bond hearings. And so what the administration is counting on is that people will not know that this directive is illegal, not know that they're entitled to bond hearings, and that they won't be able to get attorneys to represent them and get them out of this illegal detention. That's what they're counting on. So it is a bit of a perfect storm as a result of the procedural decisions of the United States Supreme Court that ICE is now banking on as a way to keep people locked up when there's no reason for them to be locked up, and then to force them to give up their rights as a result.
Quick question, probably more for Miriam. I'm with the Michigan Advance. I'm wondering kind of what the precedent or like the legal standard around cases like this, especially where there's medical issues involved, like in Jose's case. What in the past has been the standard for those who were arrested or detained who had these really severe medical issues?
Well, typically someone like Jose would have been let out immediately. I mean, they would have been, put into deport removal proceedings so that they could, then try to address their immigration issues, and then they would have been released because this is a very serious medical case. They would have been returned to the community. That's what typically would have happened in the past. And because of this new directive, that is the reason that he is locked up. And ICE said, we're throwing away the key. We're not going to let him out. Yet in cases like this, particularly where there's severe medical issues, but even regardless of medical issues, people in the past would have been able to have a bond hearing. ICE typically actually, and often there weren't bond hearings because ICE would just set a bond. There was not even a need for a bond hearing, and the person would return to their community. They get an order of supervision. They would be supervised in the community while they pursued immigration relief and tried to stay with their families. And, everybody's immigration situation is different, obviously. But this is an unprecedented, sweeping change in the way the administration is handling detention. And it is the goal. The goal again, cruelty is the point. The goal is to separate families.
And a quick follow-up for the 7 other people in this lawsuit, are you able to share any details about are they having similar medical issues, kind of the details around those other 7 cases?
Sure, I can tell you. I'll just sort of run quickly through some of those other cases. Uh, One of them is a 46-year-old father who's lived in the U.S. for 15 years. He's the sole caregiver for a 13-year-old U.S. citizen child. Another is a 33-year-old roofer who's been in the United States since 2022 and is very involved in his church. There's a 23-year-old woman who came to the U.S. when she was 11 months old and lives in the Detroit area. She was born in Mexico, but spent almost her entire life here. She does not speak Spanish fluently and has no ties or support system outside the U.S. And there's another Detroiter who came to Michigan in 2000 as an infant. He spent virtually his entire life here. He's married to a U.S. citizen. They have 2 U.S. citizen children who are 10 months and 4 years old. There's a 33-year-old mother of a 6-year-old disabled citizen daughter who has lived in the U.S. For quite some time. They were driving to the beach to celebrate a friend's birthday when they took a wrong turn, drove into Canada. She and her disabled U.S. citizen daughter were held in the Port Huron Border Patrol station before immigration authorities separated them. She's never spent significant time separated from her daughter, who needs specialized care. There's another man who came to the U.S. at 17 years old in 2018. He was the victim of an assault, and he's been working with the Oakland County Prosecutor's Office Crime Victims Unit, but because of his detention, he's been unable to attend court hearings where he's supposed to serve as a witness. There's a 49-year-old woman who works as a painter and has deep ties to Michigan and is being sponsored by her U.S. citizen sister. So those are the type of people that this administration is locking up, trying to deport, and saying, we're going to keep you locked up, separated from your family and community, unless you give up your case and agree to removal, and then you can be removed, but we're not going to let you return to your community, to your family, while your case is ongoing.
Autumn?
Yeah, this is more of a clarifying question just to make sure that I understand. So, they are detained while immigration cases are pending. Is that right? And those hearings could take months.
That's correct. So basically, what has happened historically is that people, there's the law is complicated, but with some exceptions, basically people would be able to have a bond hearing, return to the community, and then while they're pursuing their relief, whether that is cancellation of removal based on family ties, or whether it is asylum, or there's lots of different types of immigration relief. While they're pursuing their immigration cases, they're in the community with their families, if they have work authorization, working, that kind of thing, right? They're back in the community. But yeah, these are folks who are pursuing immigration relief and are in removal proceedings because the government is trying to deport them. Those cases take months, they can take years. And so the administration is saying, if you want to fight your deportation, if you want to stay with your family, then you will be locked up. And I think the question, when I think about this, how long can you go without fresh air? How long can you be locked up, caged? How long can you take that? And what the administration is doing is trying to crush people's spirits, make them give up, make them decide, even for my family, I can't take this. And we're saying no. We're saying you cannot put people in that position. They are entitled to due process. And that's what we're asking for. It's very basic. People need due process. People need to be home with their families.
I have a quick question about the traffic stop.
Thank you.
Did Jose acknowledge that he was undocumented, or was his name in the system? I mean, how did this move so quickly?
Lupita, do you want to answer that? Because I'm not sure. Yeah.
Sure. So when he got pulled over, they asked him for his driver's license. He said, I do not have one. And the officer asked why. And he was very honest and said, because I'm undocumented. And then that's when everything happened.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Autumn, did you have another question?
Yeah, I actually just thought of this. I don't know if you guys are able to or not, to be able to share any type of photos of the family or Jose or anything of that nature for a broadcast.
Yeah, we can share some photos. We'll be posting some things on social media as well. But yeah, we can do that.
So sorry if I didn't raise my hand properly. Are you also sharing the surveillance video? Is there any way that you could send that out? Just a picture of him and surveillance video, and
We don't have that yet.
you don't have the surveillance from the stop.
We do not have that, no.
Okay.
Thanks, Hillary. Anybody else? All right. Well, if there's no other questions, I really appreciate you all joining us today.